Welcome to another episode of Blood, Sweat and Metal. The 11th of March is a Friday, and we have a great guest to join us. It's called The Matches. Yes, I have interviewed The Matches previously. This is the second time they've been on Blood, Sweat and Metal, all because they're coming back to Australia for a 10th anniversary gig of one of their greatest albums that they have recorded. We have spoken in length about that anniversary special gig they're coming to Australia for, so stick around for that. It's in the interview in the solely audio section. I've got some news, as always. Being a fan of music and metal and rock and what have you, there's a bit of a rumour going around that Brian Johnson could actually be fired from AC/DC. Yes, there was a bit of a joke going around with Jim Brewer. If you know who Jim is, he used to be a comedian on the Saturday Night Live. He's a comedian. He's also done impersonations in his stand-up as well of AC/DC, Metallica, Ozzy Osbourne and that. But there's someone else, close source to the band, that reconfirming the reports. Whether it's true, I'm classifying this as a rumour at the moment, that lead singer from AC/DC, Brian Johnson, has been kicked to the curb. Now, I don't think that's true. The reports had come out and said that his doctor had basically told him to stop touring, and otherwise he'll have full deafness in his ears. He does a lot of motor racing, and Brian has stated that due to his lack of hearing, it's from motor racing, not for rocking out with AC/DC for well over 30 years. And who knows? But there's a bit of thing going around. I don't know if it's the mentality of it all or whatnot, but there's a little bit of a poll going around of who some of the people in the music industry think should front AC/DC. And they've narrowed it down to the top 10 of who they think. Me personally, if they were going to get someone back in, I believe, in my honest opinion, Dave Evans, the original singer before Bon Scott came on, can come back in. Now, that's all depends on Angus. I mean, he's the only original member left in the band. And for why I'm saying it, AC/DC been around for over 40 years. They toured the shores and countries 100 times over. They're probably one of, if not the biggest rock band that ever existed in the world. I know they're the biggest rock band from Australia, but in the world. I mean, we're putting them up there with the Beatles, Rolling Stones, all that. I mean, just have a look at the AC/DC catalogue. They had 3 different singers. Dave Evans was the first one, didn't stick around long enough to get the runs on the board. Bon Scott, who brought that raw, edgy rock feel to the band. And then you have ex-Geordie singer Brian Johnson, who carried the torch for AC/DC for over 32 years. Many members have left. We had so many different drummers, bass players, along with lead singers. It's going to be a sad day for AC/DC when they finally hang it up. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of icon bands around that may not last another 10 years, maybe 15. And it's going to leave a massive hole in the music industry because, quite frankly, there are great bands out there today. I'll say that wholeheartedly. But the icon status of what AC/DC is, and the Rolling Stones and Maiden and Sabbath and Judas Priest, none of these bands today, in my honest opinion, can hold a torch up there due to the record industry, the labels, the music industry. And I follow today's music here in Australia. You know, Headball, I've been following for almost 4 years, who have yet to support a major band on a national tour or even just here in Adelaide. I've been pumping them out left, right and centre to get them a support gig, some of these bands. And Fear Factory's coming up very shortly, so fingers crossed they do it. But to be more in hindsight, it just doesn't. You look at AC/DC, you look at Metallica, and most of these bands are idolised by these bands. They can never be. There will never be another AC/DC. There will never be another Metallica, and that. They're just going to be themselves, and it's going to leave a massive hole in the catalogue, so to speak, because quite frankly, I can't see bands lasting more than 30 years today. The labels are not there. The industry's in shambles. So, hope this is not the end for AC/DC. But what a ride it's been for them. You know, they had death. They had, you know, dementia. They've had so many other things running rampant in the camp of AC/DC that they should have hung up many, many years ago, but they didn't. They kept fighting the flag for Australia and rock and roll, and look, they're one of the biggest bands in the world, if not the biggest. So reports are, and it's a rumour that, yes, another source has clarified that Brian Johnson has been kicked to the curb, but I'm treating it as a rumour right now, so who knows? If you've got a gig to go to this weekend, please go and check it out. As a matter of fact, I'm going to check out Psychroptic tonight at the Enigma Bar. They've got Truth Corroded. They've got This Studio, another band from Adelaide. They've got Miss Aimsa. They've got Voros, another Adelaide metal band. This is going to be a night to smash it out of the ballpark. I'm hoping, due to being a Friday night, more patrons do come to the Enigma Bar, and I'm very, very confident that this is going to happen as well. Also, I am attending to Seven Dust on the Monday, and I'll be doing a report of that for Science Star magazine, and thanks to those guys that allowed me the opportunity to do that. But also, it's just to see that Friday can top it off, Monday, being a public holiday here in Adelaide, due to a horse race, we can get some people out there in droves to support the live music scene. But if you have got a gig near you, like Buck Cherry coming around, we got Epica coming to Australia next week as well. So if you're going to see Epica, please, you have a killing time. And matter of fact, I want to say thanks to Blubbermouth for posting up my interview with Simone from Epica, and it has been getting a lot of positive feedbacks as well, and a lot of people are clicking on it. And also from that, we're getting a lot of subscribers from a YouTube channel, which is great. So if you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, all you got to do is click down below. There's a little button down here, say subscribe. Costs you nothing. Costs you a click of a mouse or a click of your keypad, and it will take you less than 5 seconds, even a second. It will take you less than that. And you can see the catalogue up on our YouTube channel of all the interviews I've done. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put some old interviews up that I've backdated and put on my hard drive. That's all coming back up on to our YouTube channel, so you can see that and listen to the interviews I had with Exodus singer Rob Dukes and Dave Ellison and many others like The Treatment, so many. Also, I'll allow out right now that on the 29th of March will be our 2-year anniversary of Blood, Sweat and Metal. We've got a big, big show in store for that. I'm getting David back in for that one. There's going to be a massive show, massive celebration, so you can join us, and we might put up a chat room in our Google Hangouts as well, so you can chat live to us. So it's going to be a massive show. We're going to run down the history of Blood, Sweat and Metal, the great moments that we had over the 2 years. And also, we are going to continue on. Don't think it's going to be ending there. Not. It's going to continue on. And we've got some massive plans for 2016. And as a matter of fact, we've got massive plans coming up for the Iron Maiden tour of Australia. We're doing something for Blood, Sweat and Metal for you guys to see on our YouTube channel. And hopefully we can do it live. Just sending out some feelers for that, but stick around. All right, well, this is the matches. As I mentioned before, they're coming to Australia for a 10-year anniversary of one of their great albums that they recorded, and we'll speak in great detail of that, and how they started in the new digital world in the early 2000s, where everything was changing, like the internet, social media, so forth, and how they basically went with the times, but more importantly, didn't really agree with some of the stuff that's going on with the outside technology. And you'll hear some of that as well. Well, join us on Facebook, join us on Twitter, Podomatic, iTunes, and right here on YouTube. Plenty more things are coming up. As a matter of fact, I've got a massive big surprise guest next week coming up for Blood, Sweat and Metal. And I've also got 2 other interviews that are coming up with this one that I've done one previously yesterday and one I'm doing later on tonight. So this is the matches. Enjoy. And as always, stay thirsty for metal. Catch ya.
Hey, James.
Hey, man, and such a pleasure to have you on. We're going to talk about the 10th anniversary of the Decomposer album and also the tour that's coming around. Man, you guys taken a bit of a hiatus as well, but you guys don't play much often nowadays, and it's a very rare opportunity for Australia to have you guys coming back to Australia again for a 10th anniversary tour.
Yeah, get it while it's hot.
Yeah. So you guys must be thrilled to play that type of album, and also not just that album, but some of the other hits as well.
Yeah, I think that the plan is so when we came through, we did when we came through last, we did the 10-year reunion of Yvonne's All. So we basically played through the album and from front to back, and then had a beer, came back on, and did the rest of whatever the hell people wanted to hear. So I think that without giving away too much, I think you're going to expect to, like, front to back hear Decomposer, and then we'll play the rest of the favorites. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
that's kind of the goal. Honestly, back in the day, we never got to play through these albums front to back, like, as we intended people to hear them. Because we're always like playing with 4 other bands, and had a half hour, maybe 40-minute set. So it's kind of nice to be able to stretch out over an hour and a half and hit everything people want to hear.
I want to ask you, when you look over the career of the matches, and especially the album Decomposer, how does that influence the band, and not just the band, but you also? Because when that album came out, it also marked a change to a more experimental alternative rock sound, as opposed to the punk pop sound of the first album. When you look back over the time now, that album still impacts a lot of history of the matches to this day, doesn't it?
Yeah, that was kind of the pivot foot. That's when things kind of I think that's when we became I don't know, when we found our own sound. I remember back in the day, I remember it was a dilemma, like, you know, should we include these songs that, yeah, like you said, aren't necessarily punk songs. Our compromise, I think the kind of cool thing about Decomposer is that the album got heavier than Yves Landau and it got lighter than Yves Landau at the same time. You know what I mean? That it, like, we opened the album with a waltz, which is not, I mean, ideologically that's pretty punk, but technically it's a damn waltz, you know?
Yeah.
But then there's other tunes on there where, you know, we just basically broke stuff and screamed. So I think our compromise is we'll go in every direction at once, and I think that's kind of the sound of the album. And after that, it's sort of what we became known for, at least amongst kind of our little cult fan base, is that, you know, you kind of didn't know what to expect from us, hopefully in a good way.
Yeah. I mean, also with that album, that also featured work by 9 producers. How did that work out for you guys, having 9 producers on that album? Because a lot of bands nowadays are lucky to get 1 producer, let alone 9.
Mm-hmm.
So how was that for you guys?
Yeah. Well, it fit the idea really kind of fit alongside the idea of having a really contrasty, wide sonic spectrum of songs in the album. You know, if we were trying to just follow up Yves Landau and kind of write a follow-up to that, we probably would have just had Mark Hoppus do the whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
But it was great being able to do 2 or 3 songs with him, and then go over to, like, you know, Nick Hexum or John Feldman that were kind of more alternative rock oriented, and then just have all these guys with, you know, they've all got different tricks. They've all tracked different bands and kind of have a different influence on our band. You know, with Hexum from 311, he was really accustomed to everybody playing as live as possible and doing minimal overdubs, you know, which is probably the opposite of what Hoppus was doing, because, you know, he'd come from his background of recording Blink, which, you know, is a 3-piece live, and so to make their records, they do a lot of overdubbing and texturing, and, like, on the Matches song, What Katie Said, Mark had me record every string of my guitar separately. So, you know, instead of just strumming 6 strings, I had 6 tracks, 1 of each string, that amounted to the same thing as a chord. But the sound of that is an entirely different sound than just playing a chord, even though intuitively you would think, oh yeah, that just equals a chord. It has a different sound to it. It was cool, you know, it was neat learning all those tricks. I think that being able to work with all those guys kind of opened my mind up about, you know, before I thought, to record shit well and to make cool sounds, you have to have, like, a lot of expensive gear. And seeing how all these guys recorded, yeah, some of them had really expensive top-of-the-line shit, but some of them were just making really rad sounds with you know, cheap mics in rooms that weren't even necessarily supposed to be recording studios, you know, and that kind of inspired me to start working on engineering and producing myself, you know, so I kind of owe a lot to that experience. Yeah.
I mean, the Matches also came to Australia back in 2008 with the Soundwave tour in Australia back in late February, early March of 2008. What do you know about the Soundwave tour now that it's no longer around, and what are your thoughts on that with the way that it did unfold towards the end of last year, how the mismanagement and all of that came crushing down on Soundwave, because you guys obviously played on that travelling festival, but now we don't have Soundwave anymore. Soundwave is history. I just want to ask, what are your thoughts about that, and what are your memories of playing on that Soundwave tour back in 2008?
Yeah, I guess I can comment probably best on my experience when we came over and played it, because I'm not that familiar with why with the details of it coming to an end, but when we came over, I remember we had been doing our big goal, like when we started our band, was to get on Warped Tour somehow over here in the States, and so coming over and playing Soundwave was it was a rad experience to see that that culture, the same culture that Warped Tour kind of brought out to shows, existed in Australia. So it really felt like a home to us at that time. But I think that I think Soundwave had a kind of maybe a broader spectrum than Warped Tour. Warped Tour was really like, if you're not punk, you don't play. At least back in the day. And Soundwave had like a kind of nice like alternative leaning as well, and I thought it was the perfect place for the matches to play, because we kind of straddled that line too between alternative rock and punk. So yeah, man, we just loved it. We had a blast, but yeah, I don't know why it went the way of the Dinosaur. I know a lot of I think that we're not in a world of our own doing these 10-year album releases. There's a few other bands from that era that are doing it, although that didn't play into why we ended up doing it at all. Actually, I'm only finding out about it because we're like MXPX is doing their shit at the same time as us, or whoever that we used to tour with. But I think that the music world, the art world, it's just always changing, and that's a good thing. And it was great for us to be able to step away from the matches and let it be what it was. And it's cool to be able to come back and see that there are still fans there that want to hear the old stuff, and they also want new stuff from us. We did a couple of tracks for a 7-inch A and B side last year, and those went over really well. And so it's kind of rad to be in the position where we're having to reimagine what the matches would write, what we would be like, if we, in this decade versus the last one.
Yeah. How was it for you coming back to the matches? I know that you took time away, you stepped away from the band for a period of time there as well. But how was it for you coming back towards the band? Was there a mutual agreement that needed to happen for this tour to happen? Not only this tour, but the previous gigs as well. Was there a mutual agreement for you guys that this needed to happen, or did it just a spur of a moment type of thing?
Well, we basically, the thing that spurred the whole thing was we licensed our first record to Epitaph Records, the label we were signed to over here. And after 10 years, the rights to the record reverted back to us, and so we actually got together just to hang out, the four of us. And Matt, when we were having breakfast, Matt mentioned, the rights to Yvonne Dahl come back to us. Like, what does that mean? And we're like, oh, I think we can finally put it out on vinyl. Back in the day, we had asked Epitaph about doing, I think, Abandoned Hope on vinyl, and they were like, just like, digital. Everyone's buying digital, and let's just do CD and digital. We're like, okay. Since the matches, I've put all of my releases that I've done with my other bands on vinyl, and I just did small pressings, and they sell out, and people love having something to hold and collect, and like have the the artwork, 12 inches by 12 inches. It's in terms of physical music distribution, it's the coolest release that's ever been done. Vinyl is just like pretty, and it retains value. If you bought it for $10, you can sell it for $10 10 years later. It's not more. So I don't know. We wanted to do that, so we were like, well, hell, let's do Yvonne Dahl on vinyl, and then we said, okay, well, maybe just to announce that, let's do one show in our hometown, and then those ended up. We announced it sold out in like a minute, and we were like, oh shit, okay, and so we added another one, sold out, added another one. Anyway, we ended up just having a whole sold out tour that we added the shows one at a time, like not thinking that there would still be an audience really interested in seeing us play. So that brought us together, and then we had such a good time. We did a couple new songs last year, like I said, and we're kind of feeling it out, but really enjoying being able to play music together again, but also being able to like have our other lives and being able to be like adult grown-ups, but at the same time play play music in our experimental punk band still. It's kind of a win-win.
Yeah. The matches also started around the time where the new change of the digital world, so to speak, started to make it big in the sense of like social media and YouTube and iTunes and so forth. I want to ask,
For sure.
do you think we can ever go back to the original way, like where we used to go back to buying albums or watching bands on TV, rather than if a band brings out a new video clip, we don't necessarily have to go to YouTube to see that. We can watch it on TV, like watching the old Dick Clark special, and you can capture the live performance on TV. Do you ever think we can go back in that type of time frame, or has the digital world now taken over?
I mean, I like that question. That's fun.
Yeah.
You know what? To be honest, I think that the digital world is not going to last forever either. There is a cool little niche, like I was saying, like we put out something on vinyl, albeit we're doing short limited edition runs, but those are selling out. When people love something, they still want to collect it, they still want to hold it, and so it's cool that there is that little subculture that I guess are nostalgic for the times that you're speaking of right here. But fuck, man. I mean, in 10 years, are we still gonna have are we still gonna have the natural gas to have Walmart freighting all of everything we ever need straight to our house? We're gonna get local, or are we gonna be going back out to shows to converse with people rather than seeing them on the internet? Because how much power is there really going to be? Are we going to be all on solar? I mean, things are going to change regardless. Things are always in flux, and they're always changing. And our job as my job as a musician is to try to A, roll with the punches, and B, innovate and use the kind of new forms to the best of my ability. I mean, it's just different colors of paint. You know what I mean? I do have a nostalgia for for watching Fuse and MTV and finding out about bands on there. But at the same time, that was a funnel. Somebody was holding that funnel and was in charge of what was going into it. And at that time, it felt as impossible as it felt nearly impossible to get the word out there because you had to be part of a big label. It's kind of cool right now. You can get the word out there about your band. All you got to do is start a Facebook page and put up a SoundCloud. But how do you get people to hear it? Yeah, you probably gotta promote some posts, or you gotta have something to do with with somebody that's quite popular, or you do covers on YouTube. I don't know. People are figuring all kinds of ways, but at the same time, in 5 years from now, that's all going to look completely different. Either technology is going to be bigger, crazier, and it'll be even more digital, or it's going to be too expensive, and we're gonna localize and have smaller sub communities. And you know what? I hope it goes the latter way, but I'll be doing the same thing either way. I'm a lifer with this music business.
Yeah. Well, fans, the matches are coming to Australia for the 10th anniversary of the album Decomposer. They're coming around on the eastern seaboard on the 27th of May, starting at the Mac Watch in Melbourne, then rounding it out at the Oxford Art Factory in Sydney on the 29th. Shawn, if there's one last thing you'd like to say to the fans to Australia, what would you like to say to them?
If anybody from the consulate over there is listening or reading, I would give me a visa. I'll move over there.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can't wait for you guys to come down here. And fans, if you haven't got the album, please go and grab it. It's the 10th anniversary. You can try and listen to it on some things like YouTube and Spotify, if it's on Spotify. And go and check them out. Go to their website. Go to their Facebook page. Leave them a message. Get involved and get inspired by the band. And you never know, they might come around your neck of the woods later on in the day if they haven't already done so. But Shawn, it's already the time we've got for, man. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak to you, and we look forward to seeing you in May.
Looking forward to it. Thanks for the interview.
All right, thanks, mate. Go back.
Yeah.